Welcome to the Better Being Me podcast. I am Joanne Hatchard, your host. This podcast is about how I use my neurodiversity to navigate the complexities and confronting aspects of parenting. We can explore the different supports and methods I use to sort out my shit to be a better parent. Together, we can discover what is going to work best for you to be calm, be connected, and be you. Welcome to Better Being Me. Today we have Emma Holdsworth from Treehouse Family Counselling Services. I got it right that time round. That was the second take of that one, I'll have you know. Emma has, I haven't worked with Emma as such, but we've crossed paths a couple of times, and there has been a little bit of cyber stalking on my behalf, I have to admit. But Emma I have found to be most welcoming and open in all things that tickle my fancy, which is great. And I find her to be extremely grounded, especially when we're talking about things around motherhood and expectations and making sure you're setting yourself up for success when it comes to becoming a parent. So welcome, Emma.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're
Super
welcome.
excited.
There may be a little couple of squeals of happiness today.
It's all right. I'll join in with those.
Okay, yeah. We have a fellow hummer, so that's great. We may be singing a little bit today. So Emma, tell me, I know a couple of just recently had a program release, so tell me all about that.
So the Roots of Motherhood services have been something that's been on my mind for many years, and basically I'm I guess launching it in parts, and the first part is the Roots of Parenting workshops. So in the Roots of Parenting workshops, I work with couples to explore the roots of their parenting stories so that they can become the parents and the partner that they truly want to be. So it's all about looking at our past, our childhood experiences, our patterns of relating, and our core beliefs, and how those things are going to impact on how we respond and relate to our babies and small children.
Perfect. It's amazing work that you do, mainly because it kind of stops carrying on the traumas from your own childhood, or the traumas and the stories, I guess, that your parents would have been projecting onto you and their parents projecting onto them. Like, it kind of puts a break between that story creation and gives you a fresh page to create something new and wonderful.
Yes, I've worked with lots of families over the years, and what I've found is that so much of the issues and the difficulties that families experience can stem back to those very early years, and how they were able to respond to their children in the early years has a significant impact on how their kids develop, and then how their kids then develop into adulthood. So this change of focus for me was really about, how can I support people at the beginning, because I think it's really just extra support and a few tweaks in the way that we view things and our mindset around how our children might activate us or trigger us, that can make such a huge difference in those, if done in those early years, as opposed to when parents come to me with their teenagers. There's a lot more work to be done around those relational aspects later on.
Yeah, I think. And from my understanding, you work quite heavily with the attachment styles, and your work is basically attachment focused, isn't it?
Yeah. And so the focus on attachment is is really a focus on relationships, because attachment really is just about the security of the relationship. And like you were talking about before, that idea of that kind of circuit breaker or stopping something is that, a child develops an attachment style based on how their parent bonds with them in infancy, and then they take that attachment style through their life into adulthood, and that's the greatest impact. Their attachment style is the greatest impact on how they then bond with their baby, which then becomes their attachment style, and it goes on throughout the generations.
And I think it's amazing that you can see the importance of getting from the ground up. I tested computer programming for a couple of years. Although the importance of the testing was always squeezed to the nth degree, the cost to fix something once it's actually out in the world is so much more effort, so much more expensive than basically getting it in the beginning. So although it's not a great analogy,
it's a perfect analogy. It's true. It's the same. It's exactly the same.
While you can catch yourself from, repeating the behaviors and I think quite often when I see it, it's that you're trying to stop the patterns of behavior that you fall into that you didn't like from your parents to start with. But when you're in a stress state, that's what you fall into.
Yeah. That's it's almost, it feels as though it's your instinct, that you're parenting from your instinct because it's the thing that happens most naturally, but it's actually what's been embedded into your bones, essentially from your own experiences. Your instinct is still in there, but that's not it. The bit where later on you think, oh shit, I didn't handle that well, I wish that had have gone differently. That's when you go, that automatic thing that happens, that's not my instinct.
That's the first thing that's about to kick in. You better stop that one.
Yes, that's it. And I think for so many parents, it just starts with an awareness, because you just don't, why would we think about this stuff? Why would we think? We just think, I'm having a baby, it's going to be wonderful, I want to parent this way, so therefore I'm going to. And that desire is important, but you just don't really see or understand or have an awareness of how those things can get in the way until you're in it.
And once you're in it, you kind of you just can't stop yourself sometimes. What did I do the other day, which was not great, but I have seen it before. Gilbert he was angry at me for something, I don't know. I asked him to eat an apple or something ridiculous. He stormed off and slammed the door. So that aggravated me. And I know how aggravating that was for my mum. And my dad definitely got angry when I did that to him. So I went in his bedroom and I tipped out his toy box.
You had a tantrum.
Yeah, I had a tantrum. When I saw my partner later, I'm like, oh, this was not my finest point. But you kind of just react, don't you? You need to be able to stop yourself before you tip out the toys, basically.
But you tipped out the toys, you didn't tip out your kid.
No.
So that's
it's the toys.
You can come back from that. You can repair that. That's a repairable incident.
Yep. Brad thought it was kind of funny. I'm like, oh, it's not great, but
and you know what, we can do as much work on it and on ourselves and on our responses as but it doesn't mean that we always get it right. No. I certainly don't always get it right. I had a similar incident recently where I said fine and slammed the door on my 8-year-old because we were having this argument and she wanted to have the last word, and logically I know, just allow her to have the last word. She needs this piece of control. It actually has no all of the things I can tell myself, but in the moment I did a fine then, and it was it was my inner child was saying it's not fair. Yes. I'm taking charge. I'm slamming the door.
That's how my nana used to end conversations. She'd get up and say, fine, and then walk out. Couple of doors behind. So you're telling me we're all just big toddlers having tantrums?
Yeah.
And somebody put us in charge.
Yeah. Well, part of us, there is a part of us that is still a toddler.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be the part that's in charge. And usually it's not the part that's in charge. But when that part of us is activated, if we don't have strategies in place, or we haven't thought about this and we haven't explored it, and we don't have a system for supporting those different parts of ourselves and giving them what they need and showing them love, then they take over, and they're tough and they're strong and they're doing it to keep us safe. That part of ourself is like, this is safety is in having a tantrum or keeping quiet or not exploding or whatever it is from your childhood. They have good intentions, those parts of us, those protector parts of us, but their methods are a bit outdated, a bit childish.
They're doing what they can. And I find that so interesting. Like, even within social work, we are taught the use of self. So you understand your triggers, and then you work through them, like you were saying, you deal with them, and then the emotion is disattached from them. Yeah. It's amazing how many more triggers this little 6-year-old of mine can put his finger on than I've had for the last, 20 years of working on myself, type of thing.
Yeah, because each time our child reaches a milestone, for us as a child, then it's new buttons, right? Yeah. So there's new work to be done. It's like, what was 6-year-old Joanne's experience, and their new behaviours, their new responses trigger different parts within us.
Yeah. And we were talking before, my response still has been since I was about 14 was the eye roll, but must come up with a new strategy than that.
Yeah, you'll be able to use that one plenty when your kids reach teenagehood.
You can have an eye roll contest, see who can eye roll the hardest.
That's it. Make it fun. It'll be all right.
So you've had 2 kiddies now, and your littlest has just turned 1. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yep. 2 girls.
Exciting. Oh, 2 girls. So that's a different household than what I grew up with. No, but you have a sister as well. So that's about you kind of matching your own family.
Oh, I have a sister and I have a younger brother as well.
Oh, wow.
But I won't be having a younger. My daughters won't be having a younger brother.
That's not on the cards.
No.
How have you gone from, I can understand, baby 1, you get the flummox and the life-altering moments, and, you being of sound mind and intelligence, that you work your way through them. Has that helped you at all for baby number 2? Or you got just a whole bunch of new buttons, like you were saying before?
I think in some ways it's helped, and in some ways it's new buttons. So my eldest, as I said before, is nearly 8. So there's a whole lot of years in there, and changes in my relationship with their dad, and the fact that I've got another person that I'm relating with, like the sort of structure, I guess, is different, and I'm older
and wiser
and more tired. less able to handle sleep deprivation and exhaustion, but wiser, and more switched on to perhaps more switched on to her needs. But yeah, it's still I would say equally challenging. And it's almost like that thing, the more work you do on yourself, the more of your own shit you uncover, the harder just pretending to live in a bubble and living with a white picket fence and pretending everything's fine. How to have becomes. But I'm and this time around I've got a business, whereas I didn't when my first was born. I started my business when she was 14 months old, so I've gone back to working sooner. So there's lots of things that are different, but I feel like I'm emotionally more equipped to understand her cues, to learn her and her, what are the what's the communication behind the behavior, what need is she expressing to me right now in this moment, and it's been great learning for me.
Yeah.
It's great when you can practice on your own kids.
Yeah, why not? It's not like we're attaching them to a wire monkey or anything like this.
No, exactly. We're not doing that. We're not putting them in Rat Park or anything like that.
We're just using what we know.
That's right, exactly. It's good, and it's good for them.
I think so. I think that's, even if nothing else, it gives you the belief that you are communicating effectively. Like, I know with my son, my biggest frustration was that we didn't have that connection when he was younger. And I spent so much time trying to be something else other than a mother that we got that disconnection. And then when we really started to dive into the baby signing and kind of creating, I guess we kind of fell into his language rather than him coming up to our language. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
And that once that started happening, like once I allowed that to be the way that was how it was going to be, huge, like, relationship building so much quicker and so much less angst around it, rather than trying to hit the milestones that just aren't coming, kind of thing.
Yeah. And I think that expectation that that we can't communicate with our babies, or that they can't communicate with us until they can communicate in the traditional sense, and that from before they're even born, they're communicating. They're letting us know, we can start to build that even with them before they're born. That idea of in the afternoons you seem to move in this way, and maybe you're tired because I can sense a bit more, that your movements are a little bit slower, or and I think from the moment they're born, they're communicating. Obviously they cry, right?
Gilbert was taken out of my C-section, peed in my mouth promptly, and I had to swallow it. So that was my welcome to motherhood.
Wow.
Wow. Apparently had a lot to say about my preparation for his womb.
for his exit.
Yeah.
Well, and there's so much story in that, isn't there? You could create whatever story wherever you go with that.
Yeah.
At the time.
I just thought it was funny.
Yes, I'm sure it was just funny. I'm glad you thought it was funny.
But that was kind of what you're saying around creating that relationship from kind of womb really wasn't something that I was thinking about. I was thinking about just getting through a pregnancy more than, picking up on the cues and feeling the different energy moving through the body and things. Is that something that's fairly common for the first
I think yes. Most people are most mums during pregnancy for first baby are thinking about how they can stay healthy, and how their birth is going to go, and how they can best prepare for birth. Those are the two big ones. That people are thinking about. They're not so much focused on that relationship with their child, or preparing for parenting, preparing for once baby's outside, what that's going to mean. And that's what I hear from parents all the time is, you know, then there I was with this baby, and they sent me home from the hospital 4 hours after the baby was born, or 24 hours after, or 3 days, or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh shit.
I've been focusing on the wrong bit.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, birth is important, definitely. Don't get me wrong, because, you know, if you feel disempowered or traumatized by your birth experience, then that can then have a significant impact on how you bond with baby, or you know, where your focus is at, and your mental health after baby's born. But I don't think that you know, you don't have to choose.
No, okay.
Which thing to prepare for? You can do both.
You can do both.
You can do both.
I'm unaware of this. But just tipping on what you were talking about there, do you think there is a significant difference between people that have created that connection while the baby is in the womb and those that haven't, or haven't done the preparation for it, to the postpartum stress?
That's a good question. I'm not sure I know the answer to that.
Okay.
I think that for couples who spend some time thinking about and preparing for how they're going to manage the big stresses of very early parenting, so those fourth trimester, or you know, the first few months, I think that the outcomes there are better relationally than if you don't, because that's obviously when the stress is at one of its highest levels. So particularly for a mother who has given birth to her baby, however the baby was born, it's a huge time of recovery, and physically recovering, and changes that are occurring in the brain, the chemistry of the brain, in the structure of the brain, in the grey matter of the brain. Like, there's a lot of new research about how that, like, what happens in the brain. But also they've just gone through, obviously, one of the biggest transitions of their life. And then now they also have this small human who's who wants to feed and cry and sleep or not sleep, and all of those things together, it's like a mountain, right?
Yes. And I like how you've kind of refocused back onto the couples as well, which is nice, because when I think about my pregnancy, it was very much an isolating, and I did it to myself, like it was very an isolating experience, because not only was I not connecting with baby, but I wasn't connecting with myself, so I didn't have the cues to ask for help. But I like that you've suggested that the couples that start to create that planning and preparation for once little human is here. That's a significant difference in such a small detail. And
I think but partners are important too. And they have a very different experience than the pregnant person in the couple. A very different experience of that the pregnancy, the length of the pregnancy, because it's we hear often from the non-pregnant partner that it's really difficult for them to even conceptualize the human that's going to arrive, because they're not having the whole bodily sensation and growing the baby inside of them, but they're also going to become a parent, and the same issues around their attachment style and how they were parented and their patterns of relating are going to impact on their baby. The reason, I guess, that usually when I talk about mothers is because just in our society currently, it's usually mothers that are the ones at home with baby. But if a family has a primary caregiving partner that's not the person who birthed the
Yeah.
baby, then that's the same thing goes.
Yeah. It's all about preparation and communication.
Yes. And communication is often the big one that's lacking in those relationships.
Yeah.
In that early time.
I definitely 100% find that. Did you find that with baby 2, you were able to express what you're feeling a lot easier because you kind of had a bit more knowledge around what was going on?
Sometimes. Yeah, sometimes. I think, one of my patterns that I've carried throughout my life that is what has been one of my more difficult ones to shift is that not wanting to be too much for other people, or take up too much space, or too much of people's energy, or whatever, which also applies in my relationship with my husband. We've been together for 16 years, but
if he doesn't think you're too much by now, he's probably not.
Well, that's right. He doesn't know how much I really am. No, he does. He does. He also happens to be a social worker, so he we can talk very theoretically about such things as our patterns, and we know each other's activations and patterns and triggers, but that doesn't necessarily always equate to we have a perfect relationship and we communicate exceptionally. At times great, at other times not so great. And and he has his own transition. I'm not going to go into his stuff here with you, but the transition to parenthood again for him came with its own challenges and its own feelings and thoughts. So I've certainly had more of an awareness second time round of my needs and how to communicate them, and on a very basic level, after my second baby was born, and I basically wrote him a schedule of the day of what times he was to bring me what.
All right, food, very flexible.
Drinks. No, not at all flexible. But because we've been together so long and know each other so well, I knew that that how much he wanted to be able to support me, and for me to be able to communicate my needs very clearly was helpful for me, a helpful practice for me, and also for him to be able to have some structure there, to not have to ask me all the time, oh, when do you want food? When do you need this or that? And that was really a really helpful and easy way for me to communicate my needs without having to verbally ask all the time, please, can you help me? Or I need to be fed.
I love it.
So I guess it was kind of cheating in a way, but
no, it was not cheating. It's efficient.
Yes, it was very efficient, and it worked very well. He kept it on the kitchen bench, his little schedule, and because I spent 3 or 4 days, only 3 or 4 days in bed, and then another few weeks not really going anywhere, not really leaving the house, and then I was able to be a little bit more. I was able to choose sometimes to make things for myself, but he still had his schedule, so he knew when.
Perfect. I love it. And I am definitely one that likes to write a schedule, even if it has no resemblance to reality. Makes me feel good to know that I can refer back to something, even if I have no intention of sticking through it, to the letter.
Yes.
Always go. Well, let's see where we're meant to be going. Let's see what we're meant to be up to right now.
Let's have an aim. Yeah. And that reminded me, just the way that you said that reminded me of this, idea of writing a birth plan. People say, oh, if you write a birth plan, you'll just it just won't go to plan, and then you'll just be disappointed. But it is actually that idea of exactly what you just said. If you've got this schedule or this plan to work towards, it's an end goal, but it's not necessarily going to go exactly like exactly like you've written it, right?
And I think that can be where the sticking point is letting this is great to have a plan so you can refer back to and stuff, but it's also you need to be able to let it go in times that you have to let it go.
Yeah. And it's the same with postpartum planning, I find, is that, you know, there has to be flexibility there, because you just don't know what baby you're going to get.
Hopefully
you don't know which one you're getting. You know which one you're bringing home, whose baby, you know whose baby it is. But babies are so different, and you know, that we don't know what time of day they're going to choose to cry for 4 hours without stopping, or you know when their cluster feeding period of 9 hours is going to be, and how many weeks it's going to last, and you know, all those things. That can put a spanner in our plans, but it doesn't mean it's not good to have one, because if you don't have one, then the people who are supporting you and caring for you have no idea what it is that they're aiming for. When it comes to what you truly want.
Oh, great tips. That would have really been helpful. I'm like having flashbacks of Brad staring at me and me going, I don't know.
Oh, and that's the thing, isn't it? Is not knowing what we need, not even knowing what we need.
Oh, flashbacks.
And still, you know, I think, you know, not just for pregnant and new parents. I think I did a Facebook Live on this exact topic last night on my Treehouse Family Counselling page on mothers' needs, and how mothers' needs are chronically neglected. And I think the main reason for that is that we have no idea what they are, our own needs.
Oh, 100%. But yet have the expectation that somebody else will know. And I think, you know, there's a huge coaching and everything around, you know, putting the faith in that somebody else can figure out what you want. But the reality is, and I think this is what you do as well, is you need to find your method of figuring out what you actually want. And how that feels in your body, and how that feels in your brain, and what that looks like in reality.
What you need is often hidden under many layers of what other people think you should need, what society expects you to need or not need as a woman and a mother, not need mostly. And other people's needs, it's almost this badge of honor for mothers. Oh, you know, I put my needs last. Everyone else's needs come before mine.
Look at that. I'm me first.
Yes, go you.
It took me long enough to figure out what I want. Now I'm going to share it to the world.
Excellent. Love it. I love it.
I really did need to tip that box of toys upside down.
It was a necessary expression of something.
It was my inner child work.
But did you have to clean it all up? That was the question.
It's still on the floor.
Every time you look at it.
I know. He took my hands today and I said, we're going to have to clean this. I said, you're going to have to clean this up. And he took my arms and he said, I will, Mummy, but only with your help.
It's totally fair.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
You did tip it out after all, Mum. I thought that's what you were going to say. He said, no, Mummy, you tipped it out. You need to pick it up.
Yeah, I can hear him say that too. But no, he was willing if I helped, which is good.
Very good. It's very good. Good on him.
So with all of that work, are you the mum that you want to be? Well, it's kind of like you're always saying, it's always work, isn't it?
Yeah. I think that as our kids grow, they change, their needs change, our needs change. I would certainly say I am on the path to the mother that I want to be, and I'd say I'm the mum that I want to be. I'm going to say the majority of the time. I'm not going to put a percentage on that. Could be 51 or it could be 98. We'll see. But you know, yes, with a greater awareness of what I need, of when my inner child is activated, and how to support her and give her what she needs, give that part of me what she needs, I am able to find joy and connectedness in my parenting,
perfect.
Which is, is the goal, I feel.
Yeah, for sure, because this is life.
Yeah, that's
As
right.
a mum, this is life. So I remember some of my friends, when they had babies, they were saying, I don't want my lifestyle to change. And I said, well, just don't have the baby then, because
good plan.
Ain't gonna happen that way.
Yes. No, it is, of course, it is the change of life. Yes.
So it's amazing that you've done that, continue to do that work, and recognize that it's never going to be 100%, because there's always going to be extra buttons that keep on popping up out of fucking nowhere.
Yes. Yeah. And it's all about often saying this to my clients who are really hard on themselves about the way they might have reacted to or responded to their children, is that it's all about repair. So rupture and repair is a key part of every relationship, adult relationships, our relationship with our child. What happens when we repair with our children can't happen if there isn't a rupture to begin with. There's no such thing as a perfect parent, and a kid doesn't need a perfect parent, because then they don't learn how to how to repair a rupture. Because they only learn that from us, from our role modeling.
So if we're pretending like we're perfect, then they're going to be very high with anxiety, aren't they, that they have to meet that level of perfection that didn't exist to start with. So I like it.
Yeah, especially if we're pretending to be perfect, but that they know we're not. So that then creates that sense of ambivalence, right? Is that I don't know which one you are.
Yes. Oh,
there's no consistency here. You look like this perfect person who never loses it, but sometimes you lose it, but then you pretend nothing happened.
Yes.
Whereas you've got to just, facing it head on is where that repair happens.
That's it.
I really responded in a way that I'm really not that happy with before. And you can even speak like that to your baby.
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry that I needed to walk out, but I was feeling, whatever it is, I was feeling rage or anger or deep sadness rising inside of me, and I needed to go and breathe about it.
I like it. Yeah, it gives you the language that you already have, so you don't have to readapt or learn a new skill. Just use what you've got, because you can. And the more you do it, the easier the words kind of come. So that when baby grows up and can understand you, still has that understanding of the lilts that you have in your speech and the pattern that you have. So it's the vocal recognition and the dropping an octave when you're starting to get serious. I like it. Oh, very good news. Where were you about 6 years ago?
That's what everyone says. That's my most heard sentence of 2020. Where were you when I had my baby?
Now we know where you are.
Yes.
But where are you on social media?
So I am Treehouse Family Counselling on Facebook, and Treehouse_Emma on Instagram. And on Facebook, I also have a group which is called the Roots of Motherhood. And so that is for pregnant, postpartum or early parenting mums who would like to begin that exploring the roots of their motherhood story, so that they can become the parent that they truly want to be.
Yeah. I have a thought. Do you find it very hard to fix the connection with the grandparents? So person pregnant, developing and recreating their stories, how hard is it from that moment to fix the parent group, the story from your childhood?
So it depends on the intensity of that story and the attachment style, the adult attachment style that mother or father has developed. and the relationship that they currently also have with that parent. And I would say that fixing isn't a thing. Just like with everything,
Yeah.
there's no fixing.
Fix.
There's only repairing.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's a relationship still there to be repaired, then when we work on this stuff for ourselves, then there will come a time where we can bring that to our parents or the grandparents, if they're willing and open, which a lot of the generation, of our parents' generation are not. Don't be silly, don't be ridiculous. Stop.
We're fine.
Stop crying, stop talking.
Yes.
I don't like the words that are coming out of your mouth. I'm going to have another glass of wine and pretend you're not speaking.
It's funny, well, not funny, haha, but before I move on to that story, is it so, from my understanding, is it's not necessary to repair backwards to develop the forwards relationships?
Absolutely. Nice. It's not. It's not necessary. Even if you're completely estranged from your parents, you can still be that circuit breaker and change things for your relationship with your own children. If you have a strong enough desire to do things differently, all you need to do is do the work and engage with these ideas and this awareness, and you yourself can give your inner child, the little you, what your parents were unable to give her.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Yeah.
You can parent yourself.
Yeah. So I think would be a huge relief to people to know that they don't have to go backwards in order to go forwards, but sometimes it's a natural progression that will heal as well. Repair.
Yes. Nice. Yeah, absolutely. But not necessary, definitely not necessary, because for many it's not, not on the cards.
Not on the cards, yeah. Now this is the story that made me giggle. Grandpa, so my dad and my son had a little time away together recently, and Grandpa was in a bad mood and Gilbert was in a bad mood, and both of them, Dad, instead of being the loving grandpa that I have seen and loved and cherished, became the grumpy dad that I knew and grew up with. And Gilbert, bless his little cotton socks, became the angry child that I always wanted to be. So it was amazing.
Well,
maybe not so much for them, but for me, I was like, oh, this is everything I ever wanted.
Yes. Yeah, he was able to express something that you were never able to.
Yeah, it was lovely. I think, what was it? He fell over and he was crying, and Grandpa must have said something like, you don't have anything to cry about, stop crying. And Gilbert's response was, I do have something to cry about because I am crying, which is
that's the best. Oh, I love that. I want to write that down.
It's amazing.
I want to bottle that. I do have something to cry about because I am crying. Eye roll. Eye roll?
No, there was no eye roll. He was still crying. I just thought that is everything that I wanted to say when I was a child, when someone told me to, back it up, stop the crying, you're crying too much, you have too much, you're too much.
Yeah.
That is all I wanted to say. And I'm like, oh, Gilbert, you've just given me about 20 years worth of therapy in one sentence.
That is great. So good. I love that, Gilbert. You're a legend. You're a legend.
Yeah. What can I say?
You've done a great job, Mama.
Yeah. Well, it really had nothing to do with me. Just dumb luck some of the time. Oh, but thank you very much, Emma, for your awesome stories and knowledge and support and all the things that are you. Do you have anything coming up in the new year or over Christmas period that you want
to? So there will be some things. I'm currently taking expressions of interest from people who would like to explore working with me in their postnatal period for people who are due in early 2021. I'm putting together some packages and ideas, but the Under One Mums Circle, which is a mothers group with a difference for new mums, is that took a break over my maternity leave, will be returning in a more awesome format than before in 2021. So yeah, if you're pregnant, expecting a baby in 2021, then get in touch for a chat about how we can work together.
Beautiful. Oh, I'm so happy.
I'm glad you're happy.
Do you have any parting words of wisdom?
If you're crying, then there's a reason to be crying. Stealing Gilbert's words of wisdom.
Beautiful. I love it.
And how, just how that relates to babies, it really did stick in my mind, that idea of, and I often talk to new parents about, about their babies crying being their communication. And crying is hard for parents, but for babies and small children, it is it's communication, and it's the expression of their emotions. Yeah. So when we say stop crying, or when we try and stop our baby from crying, of course, we've checked everything, they don't need their nappy changed, they're not hungry, all of those things. They're just trying to express themselves. As long as they're cuddled and safe and secure in the arms of their parent, then sometimes they just need to get it out.
Yeah. Nice. I like it. Yeah. So instead of, basically, you don't want to be telling them to be quiet, because that's shutting them down, cutting off their method of
their only method of communication.
And we don't want that. We want them to be free and happy.
That's right. We want them to tell it how it is. We want to imagine them as adults saying to their boss, I'm not going to do that. You can't make me.
Yeah. There is a reason why I'm crying, because I am crying.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. You see these tears? That's why I'm crying. There's tears. Something's coming out of my eyeballs. Proof that I'm crying. That there's a reason to be crying.
Beautiful. All right. As I said before, I'm very bad at signing off, but I will say bye for now.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Anytime.